Good Friday morning. It is another episode of Between the Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan with Mountaineers Now. And last night, we found out some news that pair of Mountaineers are no longer with the football team. Offensive lineman Charlie Katerincic and running back DJ Oliver. We've kind of known a little bit about Katerincic for quite some time now. Oliver was kind of a question mark, but Katerincic had some knee issues throughout his first 2 years, at least from what we were told, and just wasn't able to stay healthy, kind of stunted his development. And it sucks for him. I know that the offensive line was really kind of high on him and believed that he could develop into something down the line and could be someone that they could count on. But next man up there, and considering the depth that they have on the offensive line, I think that they're not panicking by any means. But the running back one, DJ Oliver, that's the one that's going to grab the attention. Everyone, for the most part, amongst the fan base, knew DJ Oliver, knew who he was, knew his background, and we're kind of surprised by this move. Now, I would say, if this was December and this came out, I would be surprised because you have the uncertainty surrounding Jaylen Anderson, Justin Johnson, heck, even CJ Donaldson and Jaheim White. You don't know what their situation is. Are they going to be guys that bounce in the portal? But the fact that this comes in January/February, it's not all that surprising. I mean, since then they've added two running backs in Trayon Dunbar, Dior Hubbard, that signed out of high school, both guys in which West Virginia is extremely high on and believe that they can be impact players early in their career, specifically Dior Hubbard. And when you have somebody that can come in and make an impact almost immediately, and you throw him into the mix with two guys that are really, really respected around the league in Donaldson and White, it's kind of hard to see where DJ Oliver is going to open up and get some playing time. So I 100% completely understand the move. Again, in this world, it sucks because you start to, I think, look at some of these young guys, you fall in love with their potential, their game, and think they could be stars at some point down the line. And it's just not how it really works anymore. You get a year in, and if there's not much playing time there already, or if there's not a path for playing time in the future, a clear path, it's hard to see those guys stick around. It's just the way it works. So the one thing I'll say about DJ is he's an incredibly talented kid. Neil Brown was extremely high on him, even considered playing him in the final few games of the season before saying, you know what, we'll just hold off, not burn that year of eligibility. He did play in the bowl game. So if you're wondering why he's got 5 games, he played in the bowl game, as you know, and that does not count towards eligibility, which is a really good thing because that's, I mean, especially with all the opt-outs now, you're going to need those guys to be able to play. But coaching staff love DJ Oliver, and there's a lot of there's good reason for that. Hardworking kid. He's big. He's physical. He's kind of a somewhat of a version of CJ Donaldson, just in the way that he's such a load to bring down to the ground. He runs a different style, of course, but someone's going to get a good running back. That's for sure. The one thing Mountaineer fans shouldn't do is panic. As I've said before many, many times, and I think we even dedicated a whole episode to it, don't panic when these things start to come out because they're over scholarship limit already. I think with Oliver and Katerincic leaving, I believe there's still 2 scholarship spots over, maybe 3. I'll have to double check on that. But um, I didn't get a confirmation text before I started recording, so I've got to make sure that that's right. So um, it's either 2 or 3 over. So there's still going to be some more changes that come along the way. At some point over the next couple of months, there's going to be guys that bounce, and they'll probably be more than 2 and 3. To be honest with you, that's just the nature of college football. After spring football, you're probably going to see a full handful of guys that bounce, and you're also going to see a handful of guys that come in too. So it's going to even out. They're going to get to their 85, and everything will be dandy. Also, again, the reason not to panic is because you feel really damn good about the running back room right now. CJ Donaldson is, for the most part, healthy and going into the offseason, which he wasn't a year ago. And you feel like after kind of somewhat of a sophomore slump, he's going to bounce back and have a really strong third year. And then obviously Jaheim White and what he did as a true freshman. I mean, one of the most talented players in the country at his position and really in all of college football as a true freshman. Electrifying. Every time he touched the ball, you felt like he was going to do something with it. I mean, there for a while, he was averaging dang near a first down every time he got the ball. So the little lightning thunders kind of duo that they have with Jaheim and CJ have to feel really good about that. But obviously, as fans that have watched college football for how many years, you got to have more than 2 guys. That's just, I mean, if you're going to play winning football in November and get into the month of December to have a chance of playing for more than just a conference championship, you've got to be able to have more than 2 guys that can run the football. And outside of the quarterback position, of course. So Trayon Dunbar, Dior Hubbard. Dior is kind of that slasher who really is tremendous in space. I mean, really good contact balance. He's got great burst. He could run in between the tackles. He's not necessarily a physical runner like a CJ Donaldson, but he's not necessarily your all out speed guy. He's not going to just blow you away with his speed like Jaheim does. He's got a little bit of a in between with him, but he is something else to watch. And maybe at some point this offseason, we'll do just a full breakdown of Dior Hubbard and Trayon Dunbar. I know we talked about him on the National Signing Day show here on Mountaineers Now, which you can find on this very channel, but he is special. And I think he's got a chance to be somewhat involved in that running back nucleus in 2024. Trayon Dunbar, same thing. He had an injury that kind of everyone was nervous about. That's why he was lightly recruited there at the end of his high school career. But I mean, the kid ran for I don't even know how many. It was like 3,000 yards, something stupid. And when you watch him, it's full blast, full go, in between the tackles, downhill in a hurry. No one wants to tackle him. I mean, that's the one thing that really stood out when I watched his tape is like you can tell how good a running back is by one thing. Is there any interest in tackling the kid? And from what I saw on tape, there wasn't a whole lot of people lining up to go put a smack on him. So um, the running back room will be just fine. Dior Hubbard, Trayon Dunbar, they'll come in, they'll make their contributions if needed. And then there's also Jaylen Anderson, right? There's the guy that pretty much everyone pegged as, oh, he's gone at the end of the season, including myself. Like and there's still a chance that he could do that. He could be one of those guys that bounce after the spring. But as of right now, he's still on the team. And if he sticks around, good for him. He got put in a tough spot where, he had that pass at Houston where had the wheel route going up the sideline. had a touchdown in his hands, drops it, goes right into the hands of Houston Cougar defender for the interception, completely changes the dynamic of that game at least at that point in time. And then he also fumbled. I believe it was the Baylor game? Can't remember which game it was, but there was it was UCF. He came in and had the trick play where he caught the ball, was going to pitch it, and had the fumble. And those are, I believe, his last two plays until we got to the bowl game. So he lost a ton of playing time, a ton of burn to a true freshman in Jaheim White. And normally when stuff like that happens, guy's going to bounce. So if he ends up sticking it out, tip of the hat to him, because that shows dedication and commitment and I guess also confidence. Like, hey, I'm going to bounce back from this. I'm going to have a strong off season and get back into the mix here in the running back room. So we'll see what happens with Jaylen Anderson. I'm still kind of being cautious with it because I think there's a good chance. I shouldn't say a good chance, but there's a possibility that he could be amongst those that leave in the spring. And even if he does, you're still, I mean, you're talking, you lose Justin Johnson, you lose DJ Oliver, and if you lose Jaylen Anderson, you lose 3 scholarship running backs, yet you're still 4 deep and feel good about those 4. That is exactly what I think Neil Brown and Chad Scott dreamed about, right? Like you could lose some guys in the portal and still feel good, and that's a dream scenario. And it also kind of goes to show the work that Chad has done with that room doesn't get talked about enough. So anyways, that'll do it for us here today on Between the Ears. We thank you guys for tuning in Monday through Friday here on Mountaineers Now. That'll wrap us up for the week. We'll be back tomorrow on the Mountaineers Now postgame show with Chris as we recap West Virginia and BYU. And that'll take us into the weekend for us here on Mountaineers Now. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Please make sure you click like as well to help us with the algorithm stuff on YouTube. I know they're really funny about that. And also give us a follow on X at Mountaineers Now. I'm Schuyler Callihan. You've been watching Between the Ears. We'll see you tomorrow for the postgame show.